Why is it so expensive to rent a house? A 2 or 3 bedroom house, nothing special, no bells and whistles, just a 2 or 3 bedroom house with a toilet.
Like, it's just a comparison, right? Like, I was living in a loft style apartment before for $875. And these apartments, that same kind of apartment right now, is damn near $2,200, $2,300, $2,400. And
unpopular opinion, you're going to hate me, but I'm going to tell you guys anyway. Move out of London. Okay?
Hi guys, welcome back to another video from Revolux Tok. Today we'll be diving into the wild reality of rental prices, whether it's a few £100s or a few £1,000, if you're in London or further afield. We definitely want to be looking at that today. I think rental prices are pushing people to their limits. We want to see how it's affecting them and who it's affecting. If you care about where your money is going or just trying to make sense of this madness, please like this video, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell for further notifications to support us. And before we get into today's video on rental prices, I just wanted to highlight a few comments that were from some of our viewers from the previous video on the cost of living crisis. I mean, honestly, your experiences, your thoughts are very much appreciated, and all the other viewers watching also benefit from your comments. So we had comments from original Mic Drop, who commented, 11k a month, you do not have an inflation problem, you have a serious wasteful spending problem. I couldn't agree more. It's a lot of money for anyone to spend every single month. John Johnson 3370, these people are funny. In my day we didn't complain, we just slayed the day. Absolutely, resilience is key to survive, really. If you guys want to be featured on a future video, please feel free to drop a comment on today's video and you could be featured on a future video. But now let's just get into rental prices.
What do you pay for rent living in London?
What do I pay?
Yeah.
Like 1.8.
Would you say £1,800 a month is enough to pay rent in London?
If you live alone, yes. If you live with kids, not really.
And what do you pay for rent in London?
More than that.
Rough figure?
2.5.
Would you say £2,500 a month is enough to pay rent in London?
Yes.
And what would you pay for rent in London?
About that.
Do you think £2,500 a month is enough to pay rent in London?
I don't think so now.
And what do you pay for rent?
What do we pay? 14.
Do you think £1,400 a month is enough to pay rent in London?
Hardly. Maybe for a room.
And how much do you pay for rent?
1,300 maybe.
Would you say £1,300 a month is enough to pay for rent in London?
It's not enough. It's like it's too much.
And what do you pay for rent in London?
I live with my family, my husband, 2003.
Would you say £2,300 a month is enough for rent in London?
Of course it's not enough.
What do you pay for rent in London?
Over £1,000.
Do you think £1,000 a month is enough for rent in London?
No.
And what do you pay for rent?
450.
Do you think £450 a month is enough to pay rent in London?
No.
And what do you pay for rent in London?
Like 1,000.
Do you think £1,000 a month is enough to pay rent in London?
No.
And roughly what do you pay for rent?
Around the 900.
Do you think £900 a month is enough to pay rent in London?
Probably not, no.
And what would you pay for rent in London, roughly?
Around 1,100.
It's mad how rent in London can range from £450 per calendar month to almost £2,000 or above per calendar month. Insane, isn't it? I mean, everyone there thought it wasn't enough, just to pay rent. I mean, it's not about numbers, it's about the quality of life, and how are people supposed to get ahead when rent eats into half of their salary? I mean, if you think about it, the reality for most Londoners are, is young people will always find it difficult to save and move out of home. It's inevitable, isn't it, really? I mean, what's rent like for you guys? Drop your comments below.
Unpopular opinion, you're going to hate me, but I'm going to tell you guys anyway. Move out of London. Okay? The social housing it's in titters. And it's not just in London, it's in titters everywhere. But if you're living in London and you're used to London rentals, and then you go provide yourself a private property somewhere in Birmingham, Leeds, wherever it may be up there, you're going to be laughing. I know it's not what you want to hear because you want to stay close to family and all of that. I get it. But if it doesn't financially make sense for you to be in London and there's no, you're just not seeing the end of the tunnel in order for you to be getting the social housing place that you want, need and require, honestly, look outside of London. And it's not what you want to hear. I know, because everybody wants to stay close to family and friends, and I get that. No, trust me, I get that. But ultimately, you have to make smart decisions. You have to look at your surroundings. You have to look at your environment. You have to look at the financial climate. You have to look at the housing climate. You might have to look outside of London. Honestly. If not outside of London, then maybe look outside of the borough that you really want. Look outside of that. Because there may be a possibility or an option for you there that you don't have in, I don't know, Croydon or Romford. I'm just saying. Don't kill me. It's not what you want to hear. I get it. Trust me, I get it. But you got to do what you got to do to survive, okay?
So I think what this video really highlights is the growing disconnect between income and housing affordability in London. I mean, for many people, staying close to family and friends in the community is important, but the cost of living just leaves no room for savings, for mental well-being, or even upward mobility. I mean, it raises serious questions. When you compare the average price of rent in London compared to other cities more up north like Birmingham or Leeds in the north of England, and the difference can be hundreds of pounds per calendar month. And that's money that could be going towards your savings, paying off debt, or even giving you the opportunity in the long run to potentially own your own home by saving up for a deposit. So these are important things to think about. You know, at what point is staying in London, or at what point does staying in London stop being an advantage and more of a financial trap? Drop your comments below.
That's why I'm selling. Due to circumstances in my personal life, I'm having to sell my house. And I'm not looking to get another mortgage. I can't get another mortgage on my own. It's just not going to happen. And my boy's dad is currently still on the mortgage of the home that we're living in, and we're not going to continue with that. So I'm all out there on my own. Why is it so expensive to rent a house? A 2 or 3 bedroom house, nothing special, no bells and whistles, just a 2 or 3 bedroom house with a toilet. Why is it double the price of my mortgage and rent combined? Now I'm shared ownership, so I pay a mortgage, but I also pay rent as well. So 50-50, 50% rent, 50% mortgage. I can't afford to pay the mortgage and the rent on this house anymore, hence why I'm selling. But I also can't afford to private rent. So what do you do? What's the plan going to be? So I've got 11 weeks to sell this house until my mortgage goes on to a variable amount, and that will cripple me. Like, I can't pay it, and I don't want to I want my credit rating to be affected. And it's been a really, really tough decision to make, because I've been in this house since my eldest was a baby, and he's 15 this year. But I just can't do it on my own anymore. What do you do?
Yeah, so this is the reality for so many single parents here in the UK, and caught between an affordable private rental market and an unworkable mortgage system. I mean, shared ownership was meant to be a step forward to providing stability, but when both the rent and mortgage element of this system goes up, it becomes a financial trap. Yeah, I mean, the bigger issue here is quite systemic, in my opinion. Why is it that renting a modest 2-bedroom house with just a toilet, as she mentioned there, becomes more costly than owning your own property with a mortgage and rent combined in her case? And there's just no safety net for doing the right thing. These are definitely important questions. If you're in a similar situation, drop your comments below.
Flat. Turns out we actually missed off. Apparently now to rent a flat in London, you have to offer your firstborn child and a compelling backstory. Me and my boyfriend were flat hunting on Saturday. Turned out to be the hottest day of the year. First 2 flats were awful. Third flat we fell in love with. And so did everyone else in London, because there was literally a queue of people outside the door to get into this flat. Turns out we actually missed our slot, so the very lovely couple in front of us let us go in with them. But you know when it's like the friendly kind of chat where you're also scoping out the competition? So walking around, I'm like in my head thinking, oh my God, I love this place, but I don't want to say it out loud because I don't want the other couple to love it more. Anyway, so we do like the little tour, and then we go to the estate agent at the end and, kind of say in a hushed tone, so, how does it work with putting an offer in on this place? And he's like, yes, so when it comes to offers, everyone can put their offers in tomorrow, and then we'll take them all to the landlord on Monday. And there I was thinking that it was like first come, first serve, where, if you get your offer in first, that's it, you're done. Turns out it's like the bloody X Factor, and that was only round 1. And me and Jack go down the road to scheme, find a nice little beer garden, we're scheming about our offer. The bartender's getting involved as well, it's a whole thing. Have a drink, cheers, we're like, yes, good feeling about this. And it's time to find out. I have a missed call from my boyfriend, and I'm thinking, oh my God, yes, we've got the place. Turns out we're just down to round 2 now. 3 other people have put in the same offer as us. So the estate agent said, how can you make your offer more attractive? So again, we get to scheming, and we're thinking, hey, what can we stretch to? This is like probably the most we can do. Put in the offer, we sit tight, we wait. And calls again later. I'm like, okay, come on, have we got it? Nope. We're down to the final round. It's us against one other couple. And they put in the same offer as us. And we're like, okay, that's it. We cannot do any more. Otherwise, we won't be able to live. But they have also asked for a bio. And we're like, okay, this is our time to shine. Writing is kind of my thing. So we're thinking about what we can put in. Talking about how Jack's a keen gardener, so he can work on the garden. I did my master's in fashion design, got the eye for interior design, but also obviously going to respect the integrity of the place. And Jack suddenly has a bright idea, and he's like, oh wait, we should find out who owns the house, because then we can tailor it even more. I'm like, oh my God, I love this man. Yes, let's do this. So he's researching. He's like, I think you got to pay to find out who they are on land registry. I'm like, no, send me their names. I will find it. He'd already paid for it. He was like, no, it's okay, I've done it. Then he managed to find the guy on LinkedIn. And oh my God, the messages, I was actually dying. I'll have to insert one. But he was like, I've just seen that he likes football memes. Tell them that I play for my football team. It was just getting silly. The whole piece had a narrative arc, how we met, the emotional connection, all our hobbies. I don't know if we got it yet, but a tarot card reader on TikTok last night did tell me that something was going to be a yes. So I'm hoping it's this. Stay tuned to find out if all that was for nothing, or if we have lost the X Factor, House Editions, Love Island rental 2025.
As you probably just saw there, that outrageous listing where you have a single studio room for £1,350 per calendar month is definitely not a job. I think that's exploitation, but this is the reality now. If you're spending over 50% of your income post-tax on rent, it's officially called housing stress, in my opinion. The truth is, renting in London is no longer about sort of living standards. It's about survival, in my opinion. So if you're in that situation, my advice would be try and document your costs, try and save wherever you can, talk to housing support if you can, if there is services like that nearby. Don't hesitate to question the value you're getting for your money. You should be able to live in a decent standard for the money that you're paying. You do have rights, so do speak to the local housing support services. Most importantly, I think this sort of thing just needs to be stop from becoming normal. Really, stop it from becoming normalized. If the average worker can't afford to live in the capital city, it's not the people that are failing. It's definitely the system. So again, if you've got similar sort of experience, just sort of drop a comment below.
The rental market in London has hit record levels of deprivation. This is a studio in Hendon, Northwest 4, that's selling for £1,350 per month. And just look at the state of it. All of this is in one room. Just look at that rug. Now, we all know London is known for having a shocking rental market. And with the cost of living crisis and inflation going through the roof, things are getting worse and worse. But as you can see here, everything is literally squashed into one room. So there's the bed, there's the washing machine, there's the fridge, and there's a cupboard. And the fact that this is actually on the market for £1,350 per month is absolutely disgusting. Let's say the average person brings home about £2,500 a month after tax. That is literally more than half their monthly wage. So unless you have money now, living in London is going to become uninhabitable. So the only real winners of this game are the ones that own the assets, and these are inherently the landlords. But things are really, really getting bad if someone is willing to charge £1,350 per month to live in this squalor. And this just solidifies what I've been saying on this account, which is that London is going to become a playground solely for the rich. It is becoming an unlivable city for people that earn an average wage, and they will slowly be moved out of London because they will not be able to afford it.
As you probably just saw there, I mean, that outrageous listing where you have a single studio room for £1,350 per calendar month is definitely not a job. I think that's exploitation, but this is the reality now. I mean, if you're spending over 50% of your income post-tax on rent, it's officially called housing stress, in my opinion. You know, the truth is, renting in London is no longer about sort of living standards, it's about survival, in my opinion. So if you're in that situation, my advice would be try and document your costs, try and save wherever you can, talk to housing support if you can, if there is services like that nearby. Don't hesitate to question the value you're getting for your money. You know, you should be able to live in a decent standard for the money that you're paying. You know, you do have rights, so do speak to the local housing support services. Most importantly, I think, this sort of thing just needs to be, well, stop from becoming normal, really. Stop it from becoming normalized. If the average worker can't afford to live in the capital city, it's not the people that are failing, it's definitely the system. So again, if you've got similar sort of experience, just sort of drop a comment below.
Angeles, California. I feel like our whole perspective is warped because I hear people talking about, oh, I found a studio for $2,000. What a good deal. I just can't even process what is happening with rent costs in LA and also around the whole country. How is anybody affording rent?
Let's talk about it, because I just came back from apartment shopping in Atlanta, and let me just tell you, highway robbery. Like, why are we charging $1,900 for a 1-bedroom apartment? $1,900, and the square footage is like 600 or 700. Like, why? So I'm scrolling on TikTok, right? And I'm looking at these apartments and I'm thinking, okay, they must be here in Atlanta. So I pressed a little learn more. Baby, these apartments are located in Tennessee. Let me show you how much their apartments are going for. $1,324. Where are the apartments for this price range in Midtown Atlanta area? In a good community with stores around. Where? Because at this point, like, I'm gonna be living under a rock, like Factory Star, because the amount of apartments that are out here just wanting minimum $1,800 and the square footage is not even that big is beyond me, because it's crazy. Like, I'm fixing in Tennessee.
How is having a washer and dryer in your apartment or your house now considered a luxury? That is disgusting to me, because everybody needs to wash their clothes. No matter who you are, you need to wash your clothes. That is a basic necessity. And on my apartment tour video where I was complaining about how high my rent is, because I believe it's extremely high for what we get, people are saying, well, you have an in-unit washer and dryer. Like, that is worth like all this money. And I'm like, no. It's not. Everybody needs to wash their clothes. That's a basic necessity. Why is that a luxury to have a washer and dryer? I know how we got there, and it's because of money and greed and just a way for landlords to make more money off of you. But that is insane that is considered a luxury. I don't even have a fancy washer and dryer. It's the most basic old washer and dryer you can have. Is not worth my rent being a couple extra $100 a month because it's considered a luxury to have an in-unit washer and dryer. Everybody should have that, and it should not make your rent more expensive. That is insane.
I think what these last few videos show is just how the rental market has really pushed people to accept less for more. Tiny spaces, inflation, and calling basic needs like a washer, dryer, and luxury just seems crazy to me. Whether you're in LA, Atlanta, London, doesn't really matter. It just seems like the situation appears to be the same, or the pattern's the same. You're not really getting value for money anymore. It's just about survival. So, my advice will be is start comparing the cost per square foot. Obviously, the cheaper the better. And that might not necessarily be in your city. You need to sort of check what essentials you're actually paying for, or extra for. You want to have this all written down in an itinerary and costs being accounted for. Don't just pay willy-nilly. And explore cities where your income will stretch further. That might not be the city that you're in. I think definitely do some investigation work. If your income will stretch further in another city, it might be worthwhile considering a move. You deserve and you're going to get a better quality of life. Meaning, ask yourself whether it's worth staying in a system that isn't working for you. If you're in a similar situation, drop a comment below.
Will you guys tell me if I'm being crazy or if I'm being like gaslit by an apartment building, or if this is like the new norm and I've just been out of the game for a while? So I have to be out of my house by June 1 and I'm moving across state lines to like a new city. I just want to like do something new, right? Well, there's this new apartment building in this city. Hasn't even opened yet. Doesn't even open till June 1, right? So I've never seen it in person. I've just been going off like the pictures online and nerve-wracking as fuck, but it's beautiful. So I've been working with the leasing agent there, and I was like, hey, like, I want like this view, this square footage, this. She's like, this is the perfect one. She's sending me videos. She's awesome, right? But mind you, I've never seen it in person. I've only been like interacting with this person who works in the leasing agent office online. So I was like, hey, I know you guys open June 1. How do I like make sure that like everything is set in stone so there's no hiccups? Like, because when my shit's on a trailer, I don't have this house anymore. I'll be on the way to there. She's like, awesome, we can completely do this. Just put in your application and your deposit. We'll approve you and like it's yours. And when you show up on the first, keys in hand, good to go. I was like, sick, let's do it. Send the application. So she sends me the application and I see it's taking me to like this third-party website. And I was like, okay. And so I click on the website and it's pretty standard shit. It was like, like type in your stuff for like a background check and like where have you lived in the past, like stuff like that. Well, then it gets to like the money portion to see if like, if you make the money you say you do. And I was like, tight, sick. So then it goes, what's your social security? I'm like, okay, type that in. It's like, what's your checking number? What's your routing number? Okay, I type both in, and then it goes, what bank do you bank with? Like on a drop down menu. And I was like, okay. So I click on it and like what bank I bank with. And then it like pops up and it was like, what's your username and password for this bank, for your online banking? And I was like, excuse me? And so I tried to just like leave it blank and click next, and it was like, no, we must know your online banking info. And then so I pressed like the like Y button, or like the read more, and it was like, per this third-party website, we have the right to go back 12 months into your bank statements, money in, money out every month. And during your duration at this new building, we get to have continuous access to your banking, see money in, money out. I was like, you got me 50 shades of f***ed up. So I called my bank and I was like, hey, is this like something, is this like standard practice? My bank's like, no, you do not give your username and password like over like that, because then if at any point you give authorization, like, all this money comes out of your account, it's no longer fraud. Like you can't like you do fraud for that because you willingly gave it away. So I was like, okay, cool, hang up. I call back the leasing agent. I was like, there's no login info. Like that's not happening. And she's like, why? And I was like, because that's crazy. My bank just said if this website ever gets like hacked or like a data breach and they steal all my money, I'll have a like second identity in China somewhere. I'm not doing that. Can I just send you guys like bank statements with like shit redacted out? And she's like, I don't know. And I was like, has no one else in the building like said this is? And she's like, no, the building's not open yet. We're doing this so like you can reserve your unit. And I was like, no one else reserved a unit? She's like, oh, well, like 4 other people have. And I was like, what'd they say? She's like, well, they didn't have a problem with it. And I was like, morons. So I was like, I don't want to be a Karen, but can I speak to a manager? So she's like, yeah, puts a manager on. And I was like, I'm not doing this. Can I just send you like bank statements or something? Like, I don't know. Like we're trying to go this route with this third party. And I was like, I'm not doing this. Like, there's no way in God's green earth. If like, I'd love to live in your building, but I need an alternative that I can send this to, because I'm not putting this info out. When also, I've never met you guys in person. I've never even seen if the goddamn building is real. And not only that, like, I'm not getting info to a third-party site. And she's like, this is pretty standard. Like, I'll see what I can do. So right now I'm in like limbo. Is this normal? Is this like the new standard of like getting into a building? Or am I like crazy? I don't.
This is an interesting one. I mean, in any rental application, asking for direct banking login details doesn't seem like a standard thing to do. It doesn't seem very religious at all. It's definitely a massive red flag, in my opinion. No landlord or a leasing agent should be asking for that level of access to your account. Usually, your screening process would just perhaps include a credit check or perhaps some bank statements to prove your income or your cash flow, but definitely not your password and login details to your bank. And she did, if you check with her bank and they advised her against doing such a thing, if ever any money was to be taken or stolen from her account via, fraudsters or scammers, maybe, she'd be liable for it. She willingly gave out her bank details. So definitely my advice would be is never give out your online banking details to anybody. It sounds like a scam, really. And just stick to your normal sort of screening process. Don't go above and beyond simply for a property. If you're unsure about something like this, if you're getting asked about it, my opinion would be just to walk away. It certainly doesn't seem like something that is standard practice. Scammers are getting more and more sophisticated these days, so do be aware of these things. Perhaps this is something that we can bring up on a future video. We'll look at how sophisticated scammers have become, perhaps. Anyway, this one, drop a comment below.
Charlotte, and I'm quite literally flabbergasted at the price of these fucking apartments. Like, literally just 3 years ago, I was living in Buffalo, New York. Granted, it's Buffalo, New York, but still, in a loft-style apartment for $875 just 3 years ago. And these apartments are at least $2,200 a pop. I get it. Like, you can maybe find a place that's like $1,400, but it's not going to be like, it's just the comparison, right? Like, I was living in a loft-style apartment before for $875. And these apartments, that same kind of apartment right now, is damn near $2,200, $2,300, $2,400. I need to understand. And I just feel like they're building so many apartments. I get there's a lot of people moving to Charlotte, but I guess I'm making this because if there are any people in Charlotte who know of a place, because I feel like I'm missing something. There's got to be a place that's still good and cute and affordable. Like, is there any like real estate people on here or anyone who has like a place that they recommend that I look at to tour? Please, SOS, help.
So I think this is a classic case of post-pandemic inflation hitting hard in the rental market, especially in cities like this lady in Charlotte. I mean, just 2 to 3 years, it appears that maybe the rental prices have gone up more than 50%. Not just because apartments are getting better, but because demand has skyrocketed, and obviously developers have cashed in. My advice would be really simple, really. Don't just look at new builds. Try and look at privately owned units, perhaps smaller landlords or older complexes maybe that are well connected. They will probably come at a lower price to rent. And if you can negotiate rent, especially if you're in a situation where you can sign a longer lease or move in quickly, if landlords are flexible, and if you're offering that on the table, will probably get you further in and perhaps get you a better price. And I think what this video also reveals is that income isn't catching up as fast as the rental market. It's just the way the economy has started to shape. That's why I think sharing information like this creator has is really more important than ever. So guys, if any of you are struggling with rent or just want to stay ahead of the game, I've got a couple of tips for you. I would definitely look at location, look at cities other than the one that you're currently in. You might find that actually rent is cheaper if you look further afield. Also, compare the cost per square foot and not just your monthly rental figure. It's the only way to know if you're getting value for money, in my opinion. look beyond big listings. You know, look at local Facebook groups, look people, look at word of mouth rather than big listings. You'll probably find that you get a much better deal. Also, look at negotiating if you can. Negotiating will more than inevitably allow you to get a much more cheaper rental rate. So there's definitely hope out there, guys. Now, if you like the video, please hit that like. Also, subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for further notifications. I really appreciate your support. I've got a lot more content coming your way, guys. Take care, guys, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video.